This is about ProAc speakers. Somebody in the comments wanted to know if I sold Serban his ProAc speakers. And it's kind of a lengthy response, so it's easier for me to just do a video. So when ProAc speakers first kind of came around in the pro audio community, they were home stereo speakers, and they just found their way in. They're passive speakers. I think they're called the Studio 100s. And if you wanted to buy a pair, you had to buy them from a guy in New York, and I think his name was Joe Frella, and I think he was a jazz musician. But you have to find him and then buy it from him, and there was one set price, and that was that. And it was for years. If you wanted ProAx, that's where you bought them from. And then the importer, the distributor for ProAc was this guy Richard. I forgot his last name. He's from Maryland, and he got the line, and Joe Ferrella decided to not sell them anymore. And this guy Richard, when he got the line, I remember I think it was Serban told me, yeah, George, you should talk to him about selling these speakers. So I called him and talked to him, and he said, yeah, you could sell them if you want to, you know. And the thing I did, thinking Vintage King was my friend, I was talking to Mike Nero one time. I say, hey, if you're interested in the ProAc speakers, I have the connection. Just call these guys. Well, they did, and they dominated. They got all of them and sold them, and they made a ton of money from them. But at one point, ProAc, the company, I called them in England and talked to them, and they were going to discontinue the Studio 100s, and they were going to come out with their new and improved version. And I made an offer to them to see if they would sell me the designs for the Studio 100s, and I would continue manufacturing them in the United States. And they said they didn't want to do that because they didn't want to confuse people. They wanted people to buy the newer versions. Well, the newer versions didn't take off like the older versions. But the other thing that I should say is that guy Richard, he was trying to make an active pair of ProAcs, and he had I think, some prototypes, but they never took off. And then, unfortunately, I think this guy Richard, he passed away, so that whole distribution chain stopped. But now you can't buy ProAc 100s, the Studio 100s, because they don't make them anymore. And you can buy the new versions, but they're not the same. So there you go. That's the story of the ProAcs.